And a very happy Tuesday to you at 12:06 in the West. It's the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wings in Culver City.
John, the chair of the California Democratic Party, Rusty Hicks, has a message to all 7,000 people running for governor. If you do not have a viable path to make it to the general election, do not file your name on the ballot.
Rusty Hicks says if you are a non-viable Democratic candidate, you don't get out. He's going to make sure you step on a rusty nail.
If you decide to file, be prepared to suspend your campaign and endorse another candidate on or before April 15th. If your campaign cannot show meaningful progress towards winning the primary in the coming weeks, they are actually worried that because there's so many people in this and nobody is really breaking out, that it could be Bianco Hilton Bianco.
Well, apparently, there was another Republican candidate in the race by the name of John Slavitt who announced sometime recently that he was dropping out of the race. Now, you say, who cares if someone with 1% is dropping out of the race? Well, in a race that's as tight as this one, 1% actually means something. And I think according to the model, the odds of a Republican-on-Republican November runoff are now in the 20s. Which might make it the most likely scenario if the election were today.
The pressure campaign is going to be beginning, and you're going to see a lot of the insiders finally start to say, enough is enough, Tony Thurmond.
Well, this is what's leading to the rumor mill today. The rumor today that's been swirling around political circles all over is that the Democrats are going to try to recruit Steve Garvey, the Republican candidate for U.S. Senate who ran against Adam Schiff and lost, to jump into the gubernatorial race because he has such high name ID, because keep in mind they just spent tens of millions of dollars running him for the U.S. Senate. If he were to jump in the race, he would split the Republican vote up enough to where two Democrats might end up making it on the November ballot. And he would be able to do that without any Republican dollars at all, because the unions and the Democrats would be more than happy to finance his campaigns and his campaign. And I'm sure that he could easily find a Republican consultant who would be willing to accept that money.
Is the electorate really going to fall for that one again?
I call it the Schiff gift.
It could happen. Here's something else to think about. Right now, you have three Democratic candidates who are polling the best. You have Eric Swalwell, who is the congressman from the East Bay. You have America's sweetheart, Katie Porter, who's the former congresswoman from Irvine.
Little D.
And then you have Tom Steyer, the Enviro sugar daddy billionaire. Those three are doing the best. Think about who's underneath them. Viragosa, Latino. Javier Becerra, Latino. Ian Calderon, Latino. Betty Yee, Asian. Tony Thurmond, Black. What the chair of the Democratic Party just did was told all the minorities to get out of the race and make way for the white candidates. In a party that is totally obsessed with race, how in the world can you do that? Seems a little odd, doesn't it? But they are so scared that two Republicans are going to make it on the November ballot that they're panicking. Because keep in mind, they just had their convention. What was it, a week or two ago?
They had it last week, the weekend before last, where they had a chance to give out an endorsement. And the way it works is you need 60% of the delegates to choose a candidate. Nobody went above 25%, and that was Eric Swalwell. Second place was Betty Yee. Katie Porter came in fifth place.
If there was any time at all to call these candidates into a room and say, it's not your time, get out, that was the time. But back then, they were of the belief that there was no way that two Republicans would make it on the November ballot for whatever reason. Katie Porter was trying to push them out, but she was essentially the only one. And I don't know what has happened in the 2 weeks since that convention ended. But now they're all chewing on their fingernails 24/7, and they are of the belief that it is a distinct possibility that 2 Republicans could make the November ballot and the Democrats would have to give up the governor's seat to a Republican. Nancy Pelosi at that convention was expected to endorse Eric Swalwell. That was, I believe, printed in Axios. And when she was given the opportunity to make an endorsement, because they made a big deal out of that convention for her, because she's a former speaker, she's retiring from Congress. I think this will be her last convention as an elected official here in California. And she was given a primo speaker slot. She could have done anything she wanted. And she chose not to endorse anyone for governor.
We love everybody.
And she said that she was willing to let the process play itself out. And then when she was specifically asked, well, what happens if it looks like 2 Republicans would make the runoff? She said, I'll reevaluate.
Quite frankly.
But the problem is, it's kind of too late, because today is Tuesday, March the 3rd. I believe the deadline, the filing deadline to be a candidate on the ballot is the 6th.
It's Friday. So that's why you have Rusty Hicks saying, hey, if you don't have a shot, don't file.
But here's the problem. Give me a definition of someone who doesn't have a shot. Because let's say you're Antonio Villaraigosa. What was he polling at the last time? 5%?
About 5.
Okay. So he's at 5%, and he would be regarded as being a second-tier candidate. Katie Porter polled the best. And what was she, at 12%?
I think, yeah, between 12 and 14% in that last PPIC poll.
No.
Okay, so let's say she's at 12 and he's at 5. That puts her 7 points ahead of him, which is single digits. And also, these polls are not exact. So you take the margin of error, which is usually somewhere between 3.5% and 4.5%. So that's, let's say, a 7-point swing. Well, her lead over Antonio Villaraigosa is the margin of error, which means, statistically speaking, those two are tied. I know she's doing better in the results of the poll, but it's within the margin of error.
Paul!
And the same could be said for Betty E. What did she poll at? 5%?
Usually 1 to 2%.
No, but I think after the convention, she had a bump.
She's got momentum now.
She did really well with the votes with the delegates. She came in second place. So she's within the margin of error of the top performing Democrat. And then you have Eric Swalwell and Tom Steyer, and they're really close to Katie Porter. And you have Javier Becerra, who I think was at 3 or 5% himself. I don't know how you go to these people and say you have no chance, get out.
Well, and as you have pointed out, a lot of these candidates have nothing to lose because this is the last ride on the train for them.
It is. And when you think about it, the usual ways that you get someone out of a race, if there's someone running that you don't want in the race, the way you get them out is you cut off their money. You go to all the traditional places that give money to Democratic candidates and you say, stop writing checks. You go to the unions. You go to the environmentalists. You go to the trial attorneys. You go to all of those typical groups that fund Democratic campaigns and you say, turn the money spigot off. The problem for a lot of these people is that they raise their money from non-traditional sources. Like Tom Steyer, for example, he's a billionaire. He has one donor, and his name is Tom Steyer. And Tom Steyer is very happy with candidate Tom Steyer. And that's not going to change. Katie Porter doesn't get her money from the usual places. She makes the cash register ring every time she harangues some guy in a suit with her whiteboard. For whatever reason, older people who watch Rachel Maddow reruns at 2 o'clock in the morning get all ginned up by that. And every time they get all ginned up, they go on their computer and they give her another $25. Well, the chairman of the California Democratic Party can go to those people and say, stop writing checks to Katie Porter. But if you are a little old lady who's living in Duluth, Minnesota, who's writing her checks, what do you care about what the Democratic Party chairman of the California Democratic Party has to say? You don't care. If you like what she says, you're going to continue to give her $25.
All of a sudden, the way you're describing cable news, it sounds like OnlyFans.
But Eric Swalwell is the same way. Every time he harangues some Trump official, he rings the cash register. And then you have other candidates like Tony Thurmond, who hasn't had a race that's been contested for 8 years. So he's been stockpiling money as a statewide constitutional officer whose office can help the California Teachers Association. So he's been able to raise substantial amounts of money over the last 8 years, and he has a bankroll. And the other thing is a lot of the strategy right now, and I don't know if it's right or I don't know if it's wrong, I guess we'll find out, is that there is so much noise going on early and so few people are paying attention to this race. Don't spend your money early. Sit on a stockpile of cash and spend all your money at the last minute. That's what Betty Yee is doing. That's what Tony Thurmond is doing. That's what a lot of them are doing. So if you are Betty Yee and you're polling at 5%, 7 points below Katie Porter, and you haven't even started spending your money yet, why in the world would you get out? You would be getting out before you gave yourself a chance. And if you really believe that you would be the best governor in the race and that seat belongs to you, why would you give it up to someone that they don't even like?
So you don't think any of the candidates that are running are going to take this threat from Rusty Hicks seriously at all?
I wouldn't. Would you?
Of course not. I mean, there are still plenty of people who aren't paying attention to anything that's going on in this race and have no idea that there even is a governor's race.
No, I don't know enough to give you any good information, but good luck finding someone who does.
Let's look at the top of the field, too. When asked if there were more videos of her being abusive to staffers, Katie Porter couldn't say no.
Get out of my shop.
Oh, the drip's going to be good in April for that one.
She is one bad video away from being radioactive. And then you have Eric Swalwell, who was sleeping with a Chinese spy, for heaven's sake. That kind of reckless. And there was a Democratic strategist by the name of Michael Trujillo who put out a tweet and has since deleted it. He's affiliated with Antonio Villaraigosa, who essentially said, there's 1,000,001 sexual scandals that can take this guy out. And everyone in Democratic Party politics knows it. And it is a matter of time before that guy blows up.
And what, do you think all of these things are waiting until April and May to drop?
100%. And then you have Tom Steyer, who is almost, well, I guess he's eclipsed Meg Whitman with the spending, can oversaturate the market with his ads where people resent him. And we've seen that happen with billionaire candidates before, not just Meg Whitman. It happened with Al Checky. It's happened countless numbers of times.
It happened with Rick Caruso in Los Angeles. He bought too many ads. The consultants loved it. The public did not.
That's right. So if you have three deeply flawed candidates polling the best, you could be the guy that just survives all of the other candidates. Outlives them. Isn't that how Gray Davis got in? Gray Davis was the lieutenant governor, and he ran against two very rich candidates who everyone thought would win. One of those two, Jane Harmon and Al Checky. They went nuclear on one another, and the math in that race ended up being when A attacked B, it benefited C. And Gray Davis was just the man who lasted longer than the others. Well, if you're Antonio Villaraigosa or Betty Yee, you could just outlast the field. Not if you drop out, only if you stay in. And Randy, Katie Porter has a fresh new ad that's out today.
She does, and it's an ad that can only be on YouTube Because it's full of cursing. Katie, take it away.
There's something in mythology called the Midas touch. Have you ever heard of this? It means that everything you touch turns to gold. With Donald Trump, everything he touches turns to
I'll tell you, if she's anything, she's on brand.
And every person on this stage knows it. That's what we have in common. We will all fight and protect you from Donald Trump, every single one of us. As much as Donald Trump, everything he touches turns to
Well, we're doing it twice.
I think you can smell it right there.
Hold on. I don't have that one on the board here because I got that drop when I was in Santa Fe. Here we go.
You can smell it right here. We have our own homegrown problems here in California. Why do these problems not get solved?
Well, maybe because you spent the first 27 seconds of your ad not talking about them.
Yeah, you spent your time cursing and swearing and talking about Donald Trump.
Who other candidates are working for. I am not a billionaire, and I am a candidate who over and over again has won some of the toughest races, the most expensive races in this country.
You also lost your statewide race by a lot.
Yeah, and we all know about this, and you know more about groceries than Gelson himself.
And I have never taken a check from a corporation or a corporate PAC.
We're still on that.
Boy, she is committed to that cause.
Because we've heard stories today about difficulty making ends meet, about the wages that you're being paid, about the lack of labor enforcement. Those were problems when we had Democrats in office. Those were problems when we had Donald Trump in office.
Those would be problems even if I am elected governor and I'm out of office.
Problem.
So yes, we need to fight against Donald Trump, but we also need someone who will look hard at who has been running our government in California and for whom. The fact that I don't take corporate contributions.
Oh, we're still on that.
Do you think she signs off by saying, "I'm Katie F. Porter, and I approve this message"?
Get out of my shop. The fact that I don't take corporate contributions is a point of pride for me, but it's also my chance to tell you something about who I am and who I will fight for.
Same exact line that did not work in the Senate race, but sure, let's try it again.
And she's still talking like a pro wrestler. You could put soft music underneath her. She still sounds like Bertha Faye.
Paul!
It's the John Phillips Show. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Kenneth writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com on why Katie Porter doesn't take corporate money. Her claim is a bit disingenuous. It's not that she doesn't take corporate money. It's that no corporation has ever offered her any money except for McGill's Manure and Grass Seed Company. And yes, she turned down that too.
Get out of my shop.
Anytime we mention her name, the mailbag just explodes.
What can I say? If you people could only see the things that we read during the commercial breaks.
And if you'd like to listen to us over the weekend in Fresno, Randy, that's easy to do.
So we're doing 15 hours a week of this. Think about that. 15 hours a week you listen to this, and you still want more? What's wrong with you? Well, we're here to help you out. If you want podcasts of this, you can search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe, and they'll all go to your phone either on Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio, or you can do a Google on the YouTube. Where's that guest going to drop?
Do a Google on YouTube.
But how about at 16th hour? That is just a repackaged version of the other 15 hours. It is the Fix California Hour replay, and it airs on Saturdays at noon on our sister station, the big KMJ in Fresno. That is a massive station. I'm not kidding. They are on 580 on the AM dial, 105.9 FM. If you're ever driving through the Central Valley, and at night that signal goes everywhere. But You can also stream it at kmjnow.com or download the KMJ Now app. So if you need an extra little fix of the Fix California Hour, get the Fix California Hour replay Saturdays at noon on KMJ.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Well, let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes Kenny Wayne Shepherd to the Canyon at the Oxnard Performing Arts Center on June 21st. Tickets on sale now at AXS.com. But right now, caller number 9 at 1-888-790-5222 gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by the Canyon, where music meets the soul. Good luck dialing.
So, California Governor Gavin Newsom recently held a press conference where he blamed the high price of gasoline here in California on President Donald Trump.
This was at Gavin's press conference to go after counties that aren't implementing care court fast enough, which is a whole other conversation. But Ashley Zavala of KCRA3 wanted to ask Gavin Newsom about the fact that now that we are in a global conflict with this Iran war and California gets 40% of its gas from other parts of the world, is he worried that the price of gasoline is going to explode? For more, here's KCRA3 and Ashley Zavala.
What's unfolding in Iran could have serious impact here in our state, and KCRA3 political director Ashley Zavala spoke with the governor today about the operation and his concerns.
In Alameda County, Governor Gavin Newsom was here mainly for a homelessness and housing-related press conference, but he ended up speaking at length about Iran and how the situation there could impact our state. He pointed specifically to public safety, security, and cost of energy concerns. Because of the closure of 2 oil refineries in California, the state is relying mostly on fuel from other countries. Experts have told us a global...
Because, us importing the gasoline from other countries is so much better for the environment than us pumping it here.
Well, Susan Shelley puts out a tweet from time to time showing just exactly where the energy used in California came from. And while he loves to brag about the fact that we don't create coal and refineries are moving out of the state, he's closing them down, we still buy that kind of energy. We just buy it from out of state.
Experts have told us a global conflict would be problematic for the state's oil and gas supply. I asked the governor about all of this today. What are you tracking? What are you worried about?
Well, I just, we saw...
And yes, this is Gavin getting sirened at his homelessness press conference in Hayward in Alameda County.
Because you can't do an outdoor press conference in California without that happening.
What are you tracking? What are you worried about?
Well, I just, we saw the headlines of what happened in Austin. They're still investigating that. I'm mindful of that and all the...
Of course, on brand.
He's mindful of everything.
Investigating that. I'm mindful of that and all the injuries and deaths. The alarms you hear outside, the sirens are across the world, not just across this country. And
at least he had the sense to incorporate the sirens into what he was saying.
He just folded it into the answer.
Across the world, not just across this country, and cities and counties small, our Office of Emergency Service. I mean, we've had conversations over the last few days that we didn't have to have prior days as it relates to emergency preparedness and planning and the unintended consequences, the uncertainty that Donald Trump has unleashed around the world. Gas prices are going up. Every $10 increase in a barrel is roughly 24 cents.
Unless, you pump the gasoline here.
I love the fact that he blames everything down to the cost of gasoline on Donald Trump and has no answer as to why it's so much cheaper once you cross the state line into Arizona or Nevada.
Per gallon, that you'll be paying more because of Trump's war.
Hey, that rhymed. Maybe he wants to run for L.A. mayor.
Well, he's termed out as governor. He's not termed out as mayor of L.A.
That you'll be paying more because of Trump's war. Unfunded war.
With the oil situation, the state is going to have to start bringing in a lot of fuel from other countries. And just, are you worried about how a global conflict...
Benicia goes offline next month. And at that point, we're going to be importing more oil than we ever have before just to keep the prices below $5. This is about to be a disaster.
And he knows it.
Are you worried about how a global conflict could impact the price of energy in the state?
Well, that's by definition, and my comments align with that concern. So now we have the prospect of a regional war And so, yes, we are specifically to your question and give you a little bit of background and insight, had extensive conversations over the weekend, gaming out worst case scenarios as it relates to access of imports, as it relates to the ongoing issues around refineries, as it relates to past impacts of similar endeavors in the Middle East and what we can anticipate. And so the whole energy team was on call this weekend, gaming those things out, and including access to airline fuel in specific terms. That is also part of our strategy. The good news is, as you know well, because of those refinery issues, we've got a wonderful group of people that are meeting on a consistent basis.
Because our policies chase 2 refiners out of the state, we already have a team put together to figure out what do we do now.
In what world is that good news?
It's not.
Because of those refinery issues, we've got a wonderful group of people that are meeting on a consistent basis.
After this, I also checked in with his office to see when the last time the president and governor spoke. His spokesman told me that it was in Davos, Switzerland, about a month ago. Reporting in Hayward, Ashley Zavala, KCRA 3 News.
In response to Ashley's exchange with the governor today, Republican Congressman Vince Fong criticized the governor and California's policies around oil and gas. He said, quote, now California is weaker and more exposed to foreign powers than ever before.
So there you go. That's what Gavin Newsom had to say about the real possibility that gas prices in this state, because we are so dependent on foreign imported oil, are about to explode.
Okay, so since 2020, because Gavin loves to fact check and claim that any news that makes him look bad is fake news, here are some facts. Since 2020, California has seen several major oil refineries close or cease traditional crude oil refining operations, with 4 big ones on the list. Here they are. Number 1, the Marathon Martinez Refinery. That's in Contra Costa County. They closed back in 2020, and they converted to renewable diesel production by Marathon Martinez Renewables with far fewer jobs. Number 2, Phillips 66 Rodeo Refinery. That's in Contra Costa County, too. They ceased petroleum refining operations in early 2023, and they converted to renewable fuels. Then number 3, Phillips 66 Los Angeles Refinery. That's in the Wilmington-Carson area. They ceased crude oil processing in late 2025 with full closure by the end of 2025 or early 2026. And then you have the Valero Benicia Refinery. That's in Solano County in the Bay Area. They announced closure plans in 2025 with operations winding down by the end of April 2026. Some reports indicate it's largely already idled. That's what's happened on Gavin's watch. 4 major oil refineries are gonzo because of him. And he's going to blame the price of gasoline on Donald Trump. Go figure. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Guido in Petaluma. Guido, hello.
Hey, John. Listening to your show, great show. And just wanted to make a comment about getting our fuel from overseas. So I work for a major oil company that would travel the globe helping start up refineries. I was in India, and as we were approaching the refinery, it was 120 degrees outside. I could not see the sun from the plume of black smoke coming off of the flare tip. Had over 100-foot tall flames coming off the tip. I asked our agent if it was safe to enter the refinery, and he said, absolutely. Why are you asking? I said, well, the flame and the smoke coming off the tip tells me there's an incident. He said, oh, no, that's normal. We just flare it all the time. So people who think like you said, getting our fuel from overseas is going to resolve our problem is a huge, huge error in thinking.
Well, and also for a group of people who are so obsessed with race and they see racism everywhere they turn, what they're doing is they're putting dangerous plants like this in countries like India where it pollutes the air and it pollutes the environment. And the attitude is, if we don't have to see it, it's fine.
You are correct. When China had the Beijing Olympics, they shut the refineries down for 6 months just to clean up the air so the athletes could compete.
One of the things that I didn't know, I know that autopilot can fly planes in midair. I did not know that autopilot can land planes too, but apparently it can, and it certainly is a part of most commercial airlines. The visibility in China and India is so bad that frequently commercial airline pilots for American Airlines, not American Airlines, the company, but just any of the American carriers that fly over there, frequently the pilots are instructed to let autopilot land the plane because the pilots can't see anything because the pollution is so bad.
Yes, and the one way to get around it is to put in equipment that minimizes that pollution, which all the U.S. refineries have, especially here in California. But if you are not regulated to do that, it's a very expensive thing to do and another process that you need to manage and maintain. So it's easier and cheaper just to flare.
And I would assume that India is even more advanced than many of these countries. And if that's the condition of a refinery in India, can you imagine what the conditions are like at refineries in other countries that aren't as advanced as India?
Yes. Could just be worse. And again, it just comes down to government regulation, how tight our government's restricting, their pollution. And again, to Trump's point about us having to sign all these green deals that do nothing but harm to the U.S., but other countries don't have to follow them. It's absolutely ridiculous.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. We appreciate it. Randy, how about another call?
Let's go to Robert in Santa Clara. Robert, hello.
Hey, guys. Instead of buying, or using our own energy here, we get it from Warren Buffett's Wyoming plant. It's a coal plant, and that's listed as a it's listed as they don't list it as coal. It's listed as unspecified imports. So he also was on the Pacific Core blowing up those Klamath dams. So now we don't have water staged. And it's really funny how he's probably in cahoots with Newsom. Maybe he's going to build that Stack Impact City at Phillips 66. Let's not forget the Elkhorn Slough that's toxified right now, that got a lot of illegal immigrants that were working in the fields in Pajaro Dunes, and the whole Elkhorn Slough is contaminated. Newsom is a liar, and he needs to be called out on every little thing he's got his fingers on because he's toxic.
He's more toxic than the plant in India. Let's go to Mark in Tarzana. Mark, hello.
One of my favorite things is to see the liberals with their Ukraine flags on their Teslas that they say they bought it before they hated Elon went crazy. Well, it's really great because they're buying these people are buying gasoline that's being imported from India, that's being refined in India by crude from Russia. So liberals are supporting the Russians fighting the Ukrainians. It's kind of a beautiful little formula, isn't it?
Weird how that works, isn't it? Thank you for the call, sir. Here with an update on the chaos going on in Oakland Unified School District, Mr. Randy Wang.
One member of the Oakland School Board, the one with the really good voice, he is speaking out about the fact that the district cannot afford the raises for the teachers that they just agreed to because the district was already broke and now the district is broker. And yes, I come from California schools, so I think broker is a word. For more, here's Cron 4.
A member of the Oakland School Board says there's no way the cash-strapped district can afford the teacher pay raises reached in a tentative agreement last week.
That's not good. The district is already...
That could also be part of any Oakland story.
That's not good.
I got to save that.
That's not good. The district is already facing a $100 million deficit, which so far they haven't been able to close. Crown 4's Dan Kerman.
No, they've been kicking the can down the road forever and ever and ever. They've been told for years they need to close schools because of enrollment being in free fall, and they said, nah, we don't need to do that.
And now the chickens have come home to roost.
Crown 4's Dan Kerman has the latest.
It was last Friday when Oakland teachers and the school district reached a tentative agreement on a contract averting a strike. But now we're learning how much those teacher raises and other contract improvements will cost the district.
This grows our deficit.
Told you, he has a great voice.
He does. He could be a broadcaster.
This grows our deficit to an amount that we've never seen before in OUSD.
OUSD School Board member Mike Hutchinson says if teachers and the school board sign off on the tentative agreement, it will make OUSD's $100 million deficit soar.
This tentative agreement would add roughly $50 million to next year's deficit.
The school board has been working to whittle down that initial $100 million deficit, but Hutchinson says so far they are not even halfway there.
And they just authorized even more spending they can't afford.
Why not?
Making the raises for teachers an impossibility.
I know there's no way for us to be able to pay for it, so the offer should have never been passed.
The teachers union and the school board must still ratify the contract. The school district didn't respond to KRON 4's request for comment. The teachers union declined to comment. Dan Kerman, KRON 4 News.
So there you go. Oakland Unified does not have the money to even pay for the raises they just agreed to avert a strike. So now what do we do?
That's not good.
Well, I think what they're all hoping for is a bailout from Gavin.
But wait, the state's broke too.
That's not good.
And if Gavin approves a bailout of Oakland, San Diego will be next.
LAUSD.
There's going to be a lot of districts in line with their hands out.
That's not good.